Welcome to part 4 of the core rules and explanations uh, for of courts and crowns. Um, this section will describe in general and some of the intricacies that is the role of a justice in this game, and as far as players are concerned. So, like traditional judges, your main focus will be to handle the cases on your dockets. Um, every so often, you might be thrown a case that is particularly interesting, or you might notice that some of the lawyers aren't doing as good a job as they might, or various other intricate clues that something might be going on behind the scenes. Um, as a justice, you are entitled and directed by law to do what is necessary to uphold the honor of the judicial system. You have the power to launch an independent investigation. Um, in addition to the investigations of the defense and the prosecution, um, specifically in matters where you feel that something isn't quite absurd. Um, this evidence that you may find in a given case is then filed with the court clerk and sealed, and only the judge may have access to this information. Um, this will allow for judges to be able to more accurately discern if someone isn't being or there's more to the situation, and act accordingly. If the if in these cases the justices feel that more than one punishment to more than one person is necessary, he will then issue a imperial warrant of summons, which allows the additional person to appear in court to explain themselves. This allows the individual to come in on their own, to give them a chance to maintain their own honor. If the individual does not, the justice can then have that warrant of summons immediately changed to a warrant of arrest, and it will fall to the the officers, the constabulary to see that this info is brought in. Also, if sufficient merit is demonstrated, a justice can slap a sanction on an attorney in cases of blatant fabrication, clearly giving false evidence, various other things like that. Usually, though, a justice will give a few warnings before doing so, as well as upholding the honor and traditions of the imperial court system. You are held in very high regard. Even the lowest judges in the first house are seen as quite the respectable and educated individual. They are expected to be exemplars of the law. They must comport themselves as a justice at all times. The justices are expected or given a yearly review of their more notable cases, and they are expected to appear and answer questions regarding this promptly and with proper dignity. Like most members of the upper class, of course, they are allowed to marry. They are, they're still considered people, but they must follow the code of justice in all things, and there is only 4 ways technically that a justice can leave the bench by offering a letter of resignation to the office of the Justicar, which must be accepted. You are expected to uphold the post until a proper response is given. If the justice is placed in a situation where they can no longer fulfill the duty, they will be asked to step down. Depending if done in honor or dishonor, it may affect the overall character. The third way is if a justice is found to have either violated the imperial law in some way or has breached the code of justice, which, these things are handled in their proper course. Accusation of a crime is handled in a court of law in public, especially all judges are aware that the higher you go in the powers of justice, the more transparent you are, because you hold that much more responsibility. For example, there are seven courts, effectively. There are seven levels of justice, although the seventh is a very special one, which holds only one judge, and I'll get to that in a moment. A judge of the first court is responsible for the minor offenses of a city or a province or something. So, like pickpocketing, purse snatching, public drunkenness, that sort of thing. The judges of the second degree handle family law. So things involving divorce, the handling of deaths in the family and wills and things of that nature would be put through their purview. Judges of the third degree, of the third house, handle issues of economic importance. So things involving the merchant class, things involving ensuring that people's licenses are in order, that tariffs have been paid, various dues have been paid, any issue in guild houses also comes through them. The judges of the third degree are also responsible for young offenders. um, um, they they are responsible to both ensure that the truth is gotten to, and that even the lowliest child, even a street urchin, is properly defended under the king's under the em- emperor's justice. Um, no, no citizen, no matter how poor or how old, is beyond the reach of the emperor's justice. Therefore, um, the same is said for the protection of the emperor's justice. Um, well, there have been many cases in the past years, or I guess in past reigns, where a great many child offenders would be hung or put to death or things of that nature. Um, King or the emperor has decreed until an amendment is voted on in parliament to adjust the current criminal justice system in regards to children and how the young are treated in such cases. All death penalties are suspended. Um, they can still be sentenced to death, but the actual sentence is suspended. The children who are found guilty are either sent to a special prison for young offenders up until a certain age, uh, or they are um, given to um, duly appointed caregivers. Um, Also, um, the just so that you're aware, uh, the importance of parental responsibility uh, is very high in the empire, as if a child that, or rather, if a person that is not of the age of majority is accused of a crime, it is, excuse me, um, it is determined that the parents have been negligent, um, and you know, sentencing and whatnot should reflect this. Um, there are ways around it. For example, like if an 11, 12-year-old leaves without permission and the parents notify constabulary within um, an appropriate amount of time, it goes on record that they did what they were supposed to do. They and that sort of thing. So there are like points of reason that should be attributed to this. But the fourth house within the Palace of Justice is responsible for issues with provincial law. Issues with local law. So if the Lord Mayor and the council are having a dispute, or a citizen wishes to bring forward a complaint based on, the imperial laws and reasons, unethical practices, etc., etc., etc. Those are where those sorts of cases would go. Also, so the fifth house, the fifth house of the Palace of Justice, is set aside for the provincial branch of governance. So a governor is having issues collecting taxes and this, that, and the other thing. Same ideas below, but on a slightly larger scale. The sixth is the national level. This level is for ensuring that the proposed laws set down by the Senate are in fact legal. They may not unduly cause harm to the citizens of the empire. It's a very thorough process. Certain cases take weeks at a time, and there's breaks in between. There's usually multiple justices, so it's a lot like the Supreme Court of Canada in that way. There are many cases seen over many weeks involving many laws, etc., etc. The seventh is extremely special, because as per the imperial constitution, any citizen of any rank may seek the emperor's judgment on an issue. It doesn't matter what that issue is. But in this, the emperor's ruling is final and absolute. The emperor can weigh a case based on evidence and whatnot. And even if it's not within the normal statute, if he and the advising justices, because there are still justices in the court, they are seated on either side of the emperor, on the dais, to symbolize not only the crown's authority but also the rule of law. These justices may offer advice and add to sentences that the emperor has given. No one in this court can contradict the emperor. You can advise him, you can entreat him, but it's a risk. You've called down the imperial judgment, so it's a thing. And a note to any Justicars is that you have control over what year you're in. Not all emperors are fair and just. Not all empresses are fair and just. In fact, as our history has shown, there have actually been an amazing few that have actually been truly fair and just. So bear that in mind. Though, of course, you should always allow an opportunity for a player to be able to shift an emperor's thought process. These are highly trained men and women, trained in the law. They do have emphasis. They do have certain things. Use a balance, and don't be afraid if, like, in game, if a justice is in the emperor's court, if he is co-presiding in the seventh in the seventh house of justice, and he makes a faux pas, which is, like, as I said, ones can take away from your successes, depending on how many ones there are in a given situation, should often determine, like, how bad of a failure it was. As it's understood that, to be appointed to be a justice for the seventh house is a high honor. Depending on the level of failure, you may want to like dock 3 or 4 reputation points. Adversely, if you find that a player through fantastic roleplay and awesome rolling um, um, just blows the case out of the water, you know, you you might want to promote him. You might want to like make him a duke, make him a count, offer him a chance to be married to the daughter of a high-ranking noble of the emperor's court, something like that. A really, 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 really thing that's like should be out there, but again, like dangled really, really high is to be the next in-game Justicar. If they do that, though, I have two ways you could go about it. You could let them RP that because it's a big moment. It's a big thing. But they have to role play solving really, really big issues and having to meet with the emperor, and they have to gather their allies among the justices and whatnot to get certain things done without potentially bringing down the empire, which I think is a more fun way of doing it, especially when someone's actually earned the thing. Another way, and it's nice and simple, is you can have the player gear. That character becomes an NPC. At the next opportune moment, if they wish, they can actually have a special merit thing where their character could be like their first character's son, and so you get a bit of a son or daughter. That way you can actually do stories with lineages and stuff like that. So yeah. A final note for now that I'd like to share is that just to go back to something I alluded to before, when the final scene is called, any dice that you have left, by the way, you cannot you cannot hoard your dice for the final scene. There is an ending scene, and you should be called to do something in it. So, but any leftover dice count towards your points that you can use to like acquire new traits and things to make certain other elements of the game easier. For example, going from from a hobbyist hunter to a um, skill hunter might be like three points or something like that. With the second point the value established for the above that, which would be like the master hunters or the notable hunters and what have you. At the end of the day, the values should be determined by the Justicar. But remember, it should be within reason. Buying titles is possible, as it was back in the day. However, the Justicar or GM should take a look at certain factors like, is this person of a suitable reputation rank? Is person or has this person done a good job at the job? Various things like that. All of this should add to the necessary number of successes. Certain things like that. Adversely, having positive things might make certain things easier, like having a patron who is either close or the same rank that you're trying to achieve. Things of that nature. During these particular purchases, rather than you like the ones for actual rank position, should be done with your reputation scores, not your starting 9 dice. And you could, and these things will take time. So RPing and like, it's okay to have prolonged rolls. Like, you go visit Duke Estifus every other weekend. Spend time with him. Make yourself available. You do things and as long as your reputation isn't like ridiculously too low, like sorry, if you're like rip three, uh, and you're trying to become a duke or a count, that's not happening. That is not, no. Um, there's a societal order of things. Um, doing a prolonged role uh, is great for facilitating this. Um, so, a role at the end of every session as like part of your part of your wrap up is a good thing. Failing um, this role to a certain degree will draw you back some. And let's say, for example, you needed three consecutive rolls of um, with um, a minimum of three successes each roll, or something like that. Um, if you fail, um, failing in and of itself isn't like it's over and done. You have to start over. Um, but your afternoon went reasonably well, but you didn't really make a great impression on his lordship. But watching, watching, um, that can that can be dangerous because depending on how things go, you could be seen as impertinent. Um, you you know um, you could actually leave that scenario with less reputation than you started. In fact, in the case of a botch, um, I think that should happen. I mean, you insulted a great, you've insulted a duchess of a or a count or someone of much higher station than you by being a bore, by being rude, um, by constantly stepping on their shoes at a party, or you know, occupying a lot of it of um, these things. These things can set you back. A botch will mean that you would have to effectively RP the consequences, um, handle those consequences in the next session or two, however long it takes, and your bid for a promotion would start back at zero. Um, and adversely, if you're not one of those like social climbing type justices, um, you can be promoted by simply doing a good job. Like that 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 needs to be understood. By being what you're supposed to be, there should be opportunities for you. Um, and adversely, there's opportunities for you to take a bribe, you to do things that are below the board. You will have to do a few roles pertaining to that. Of course, you'll one of which being a rep role in order to use your reputation to shield you from any suspicion that kind of thing. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna end this video now and decide if I need a part 5